up, though? Welcome to the FreeGame Producer Podcast. My name is Brian Henry. We here in the Bandwidth Studios, you know what I'm saying, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
We got the super producer, the multi-platinum producer, the big homie Willpower in the building. What up, homie?
What up, man? What it do? What it do?
Man, I'm blessed to be here, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You been all right?
I'm good, man, bro. Everything is blessed. This is the best day of my life.
Hey, man. Any day that we on this side of the ground, man, you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing. It's a good opportunity to go ahead and pursue those dreams, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We got a great show.
Yeah, speaking of pursuing dreams, man, S1, multi-platinum Grammy Award-winning, multiple Grammy Award-winning producer, dropped a dope book, Pray, Plan, Focus, Execute, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a great book, and he gives a lot of good gems on it, man.
Yeah, no, it's dope, man. We had a good time talking to him, man. He told me everything I needed to know, man. He put some batteries in my back.
Me too, man. Me too.
Let's jump right into it.
Let's get it, man.
Yes, sir.
Free Game Podcast. Yeah.
Gang.
What up, though? Welcome to the Free Game Producer Podcast. I'm Brian Henry with the super producer Willpower. We got a very, very special guest in studio.
Yeah.
We interviewed him 2.5 years ago, episode number 52, so you can go check that out if you want to. But we've got a multiple, I think, 3-time Grammy Award winner at the table, multi-platinum producer with credits. Produced Kanye West's Power, Beyonce, Madonna, Eminem, Gladys Knight, all the way to
Come on, man.
go from Gladys Knight to YBN Cordae, the baby.
Come on,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? So very diverse producer.
Yes,
he has
sir.
a new book out, Pray, Focus, Plan, Execute. You know what I'm saying? I read the whole thing cover to cover. It's a great book, motivational book. We've got S1, Symbolic One in the building. How you doing, sir?
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm looking forward to getting into this thing today.
Dog, I'm just honored to have you here, man, bro. This means a lot to us, man. You're definitely one of our favorite producers.
Wow.
We always talk about what you've been doing in the producer community. We just enjoy the positivity that you add to the culture.
Man, I appreciate that.
I mean,
man.
bro, like you've been to the top of the food chain, man. It's like this is a really big deal. Thank you for coming, man. Thank you for making time for this.
Appreciate you guys having me, man. It means a lot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and of course, many of you may know S1's story. You know, the big break came with Kanye West's Power record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about all that stuff in the past, but I'm just curious, what made you want to write this book right now?
Well, the book was actually derived from just me. Once I aligned my figured out what my true purpose and passion, which is to inspire and encourage, motivate, and impact people. It was like, why not use my personal experiences and my story to be able to impact others and inspire others? Because one thing I used to do back on the, during the grind years of my come up, I used to love reading other people's stories. I would buy like the Source magazine, the Scratch magazine, and all these magazines, and I would just do it just to read people's stories. And the common denominator between all the stories I read is that, everyone was no different from I am. They just had a situation that came out of nowhere unexpectedly, and they were prepared for that situation. So that always gave me hope to keep going. So that's really what this book is about. It's just me being able to share my story, and in the process of that, being able to inspire.
That's really dope, man, because honestly, that's really one of the main takeaways in almost every chapter of the book. The takeaway for me was he was always prepared.
Man,
like preparation was everything in every sense of it.
Preparation is everything.
Yeah,
that's key. Yeah.
That's so crazy to me. And I think a lot of people, there's another topic that I want to talk about where I feel like people miss it when it happens. But for you and just about anything I've ever been successful in, it's only because I was ready for it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like, you already got your beats stacked up. You already have your folders in order. You already have your steps ordered. You know exactly what it is you want.
And you don't really realize that in the process of you trying to get to where you're trying to go. You're just thinking of, man, I hadn't made it there yet, but not knowing that those years of you trying to figure things out and having those failures and rejection and dealing with insecurities and doubts and all these things, like that's actually preparing you, because it's making you grow and it's making you evolve as a person and a producer. You know?
Well, I like that. What I also noticed too, would you say it's mostly family that kind of helped you get like mentally prepared for life?
I had a big support team.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it. Just me having that support, like starting from my parents. My parents were always there.
Yeah.
I could always count on seeing my parents at, whether I was playing Little League baseball or basketball. And that meant a lot. You don't see those things when you're younger, but looking back, it's like, oh, that means everything, because they're not only supporting, but they're believing in my actions and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that carried me a long way.
Yeah.
And then of course, even now, from like my wife believing in me enough to be able to back me up and make some really hard decisions, career-wise, that not only affected me, but affected her and my two boys as well. So, so important.
That's dope.
Yeah. And the great thing about this book, a lot of times I love to read autobiographies and like memoirs, by the way, because it's so inspiring. But the cool thing about your book, you mentioned a lot of the major events, with whether it's working with Beyonce or Kanye West or Madonna. But the cool thing about it is, after every event, you stop and give a reflection.
Yes.
Where you kind of like, here's what happened, but here's what you should take away from it. Yeah. And I thought that's very important. People don't really do that. Yeah.
And that didn't happen until maybe like 70% in writing the book. It was I had a tough time actually writing the book and getting done with the book, because I had to get to a space to where, just me and my personality and me being low key, I would have moments of writing and have these very traumatizing moments of, man, I don't want to put this out there for people to see and know. It's just something about putting your insecurities. But it was always a thing of, it's not about me. It's about me being able to impact people. And the only way to do that is people have to see you overcome things to get to where you're at.
Right.
So that was really a big part of that in writing the book. And then the reflective moment. Yeah, I was back. Let me get back on the reflective moment. So the reflective moment happened about 70 to 80% in the book, and it was like, okay, once I started to really focus and be like, oh, this is dope, how can I add more value to the reader? It was like, why don't I just put a reflective moment in here and just kind of reflect back on that and give my insight and my bird's eye view and actually connect the message to the story and the experience.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
Well, this is a producer podcast. I want to talk about a little bit of music production from the very beginning, because I related to there's one part, I'm not gonna give it away, but there's certain equipment that you saw in a record store when you first was beginning to produce. And I remember being 18, 19, going to the record store, seeing a certain piece of equipment that I wanted to get, and you talked about working through that with some of your brothers, learning how to produce. What was it that kind of made you want to actually get behind, because you were rapping at first?
But I was rapping.
What made you want to start producing?
Well, it was the lack of not having original music for my group that I was in at the time, called Symbolic Elements, with my cousin Kevin. Yeah. So not having original music, I was always like curious of like, man, how are people making beats? Like, what is the art behind it, and the steps of getting creating original music? So I just started kind of dialing into things, and then coming across like producers like JD and Pete Rock, and realizing records they were behind, and start researching and seeing what equipment they were using. And that's when I came up with, okay, he uses the SP1200, he uses the MPC 2000 or 3000, and that's what kind of led me. But at the time too, I knew I didn't have the money to be able to buy those. So it's like, okay, what can I start with to at least be able to do something like that?
Yeah.
Right.
So it was me, my dad buying this Gemini mixer for me, which had a sampler, a 6-second sampler. And it was me just taking that and being able to just start to sample things in and overdub using the dual cassette players. And that's where it actually started.
That's crazy. So let's talk about the small victories. Like you started in the 90s, man. And it was like 15 years before everything took off.
Yeah, about 14, 15 years, something like that.
What drove you to keep going? Because that's a lot of space. You know what I'm saying? Yes. I know exactly where you live in that space too. So it's kind of like, what drove you?
It was always the little small successes that gave me hope, and it gave me a vision of, this could actually work. Yeah. And what I mean by the small successes, for instance, like me just jumping in certain things, like creating my group Strange Fruit Project. And I actually talk about this in the book too, but pressing our own album up, and then having that moment of, okay, now what? I got these CDs in my living room, and now what do I do? It's like this whole world that I don't know what to do, and it's like just figuring it out as you go. And as we started to put things out there, people start to gravitate toward it. Oh, you get 5 people, I can hear you do a show, you get 100 people, and it's just a gradual thing. And then over years, it's like, okay, now we're touring the U.S., and it's like, oh, okay, so this is, even though it's a very, you're not making much money and you're doing these little small venues, but it's 2 years ago, I wasn't even doing this. So it's just the little small progressions.
But even with that, you talk about shows, there's a story in the book about your first quote unquote show
that nobody showed up to.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, so how did you even go from something like that? Nobody, I don't want to give it away, but basically it was supposed to be a show, but nobody came. So y'all had to go walk around the city and figure it out. But then eventually you start doing these shows. Like, what would give somebody the unction to just say, you know what, nobody came to my show, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep trying it.
That's crazy that you asked that. So I have a chapter in the book called No Failure, No Fuel. And that's basically what it was those failures actually gave me fuel. Although I'm not saying that I was never discouraged or disappointed, because I was. Yeah. But it's like, have those moments, you're discouraged, you're disappointed, but the next day it's like, okay, that didn't happen. Let's figure this out and get back to it. So every time I was having these moments of like that, nobody coming to the show, it was like be down, but then the next day it's like, okay, let's figure this out and see how we can improve this situation. Yeah. And just diving back in. And one thing I realized while I was doing that, I was actually becoming smarter because I was trying new things and new approaches, but also I was just evolving and learning things. And then it was helping me develop this thick skin that I needed, because we all know how much rejection we get in the music industry and trying things. Right. So you have to have that, or if not, you're just going to throw in the towel. So it was a lot of growth within those rejections and disappointments.
What about the brotherhood too? Because you mentioned, you were in a group, Strange Fruit Project, with 2 other people. Even before then, I think the Third Eye
Militia. Yeah, my guys.
And you mentioned how you still real cool with those guys today. So and the reason why I ask is because people are listening out here. I think I heard Will Smith say that partnerships and linking with people is what makes the difference. So could you speak to that a little bit as far as how that got you through?
Oh, that was everything, man. And those guys that I speak of, Third Eye Militia, like, they're still my literally best friends to this day. Like, speak every day, that's like dope. Text groups or calls or whatever. So, but these were the people that I gravitate towards in my city. I was born in Waco, Texas, and that's where I was raised. But back in Waco, we were all like the outcast of the city, because everyone was doing this certain type of music, but we were the ones that were going against the grain.
Lyrical, miracle. Y'all was spit like Wu-Tang from New York or something.
Yeah, and people would look at like, man, y'all doing East Coast music. Y'all should be doing this type of music. But we always felt that we should always represent what we loved and be us, right. So yeah, those were the guys that I grew with. And not only that, like, we always supported each other. Anything that they needed, even to now, anything they need, they know they can support. I'm gonna give them whatever they need, right. And vice versa. It's not one-sided relationship. Yeah. And yeah, man, I just think just having them and the encouragement from them, and us being able to grow and figure things out together was everything.
Have you ever thought about getting back on the mic?
Man.
Because
you pretty good.
Like, I'm not even saying,
man. You know what? I loved it back then, but now I just don't have that type of love. Like, I'll freestyle every time I create a beat. Like, I'm just doing patterns. Well, and
I imagine being an MC is also what helps you make beats. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm the same way. It's like, if I can flow to it, then I know that it makes the most sense. You know what I'm saying?
I think I read a part in the book where you was working with Common and y'all just start freestyling or something like that.
Yeah, that was dope.
I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, just putting beats on for him, and then he start freestyling, and then I jump in, and yeah, it was definitely a moment.
Well, so you also, you're also part of what I call the early producer internet era, where it was like you. I remember Oneself. I remember Illmind. It was like a group of
phases.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like, it was, y'all were doing
Jake
things
One,
before,
Vitamin D.
Exactly. Yeah. Before it was cool. Way before it was cool. You know what I'm saying? Talk about that, because that seems like a brotherhood too.
You speak real high to those guys.
And what's really dope is like a good 7 6 or 7 of y'all are like really big deals, man. You know what I'm saying? And so it's important. Can we talk about that?
That was very important too. Like I met those guys like Illmind, M Phases. I remember when I first came on with the Strange Fruit project. Like that's when I met them guys online in the OK Player forums and underground hip hop and M Phases and Jake One Vitamin D, all these guys and I just gravitated towards their music, and then vice versa, they gravitated towards mine. So we created like we had this little small community, you know, called Beat Fanatics. You know, big up Slot Funk. Yeah, y'all remember Slot Funk Ducks? Slot Funk. Yeah. And so we had this community, man, and we would always just share music with each other, and you know, they had a thing called Beat Society that they used to do in New York.
I remember that.
And I remember Jake One and Vitamin D, they and Slop, you know, they all invited me to come do that. And I think I was on the stage with Vitamin, Jake, and a guy named Phil Swedenberg, who's a producer as well. And I think after that, man, we just really developed a really dope, we had a really dope connection, and the vibe was right. And them guys, we all shared a lot of similar interests in the same things. Right. And it was great just to see everyone's progression. And as we're trying to accomplish this, you know, our dreams, things just started to happen for everyone. And we was all excited. Like when I remember when Jake One started working with the whole G Unit crew, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. Or even Ninth Wonder with the Jay-Z situation.
Right.
You know, and I like that. I felt like those were my placements because those were my guys, and I always like to see people just win. Yeah. You know, no matter who it is, and no matter what space I'm in.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
so
dope,
it was a big
man.
part of it.
That's really dope. I mean, and the success of each one is like, you know, it all started, man, on a forum.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just people sharing information and just like.
And doing what we love.
Yeah, bigging each other up. That's really dope. Yeah. Yep.
Now, fast forward a little bit. We talked about, you know, staying ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite parts of the book is when you got the call from Rhyme Fest to go work with Kanye, and we talked about it before in the last interview with you. But in the book, you get more into detail about that experience, being there, and of course, you can read the book; it's real great. But there were moments where it was like you were kind of like put on the spot and kind of like had to kind of show up, you know, and I've been with Willpower places where he, you know, so I know how it is. How did you like had a confidence, and how did you get through those moments where you had to kind of deliver with, you know, Kanye West?
My one of my big things, and as you can see, the first word in my book is pray.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of prayer.
Yeah, you can read that.
It was like literally on the flight. First time working with Kanye, I'm on the flight headed to him, and it's like prayer and always quoting like one of my favorite scriptures is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and like really standing on that, like, okay, I can do all things. Yeah, like I'm trusting in this, and it never failed. Like God would always just step up and give me favor over a lot of situations.
That's dope.
Speaking of favor, this is something that producers face. There are times in the book where you have to kind of have negotiations with Kanye and, you know, things of that nature, and we always talk about on the podcast, you know, when to like push, when to pull, like it's real delicate sometimes.
It's very delicate, man.
Especially when you don't have the leverage.
Yes.
You know, and so it seems like you had favor on your side. Like, how did you, you know, get through those situations where you had to kind of, I guess, stand your ground for what you feel like you deserve, but not blow an opportunity at the same time?
Man, that was one of the toughest times in my life or in my career, because I felt like, it's kind of like you say, those situations are very delicate. So it got to a point to where I really felt like, okay, am I about to blow this opportunity? You know, I'm being presented with this opportunity that I've always dreamed of, but because of certain things that I wanted changed, you know, am I going to just blow it and then this just kind of just fades away? And it's like, dang, if I would have just jumped in that. But it goes back to prayer, man, having that prayer. And then within having that prayer, it was always something saying like, okay, just be patient, you know, just have the patience. And man, that was everything, because, you know, just to be very short with it. Like, I got that call from Kanye, was like, yo, let's just close this deal, you know, and I didn't have to, I didn't have to sacrifice a lot that I was going to have to sacrifice if I would have just went ahead and signed that deal.
Yeah.
So that was a big moment of like, wow, like, you know, me being patient and standing on God's word.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, as a producer, you're still working. You
Still working. Yeah.
You still have to kind of put in the work. So
absolutely. I mean, in any situation, it was never a moment of waiting for something. It was always working until something happens, as opposed to waiting until something happens.
Yeah.
Man, so I got so many questions. I'm trying to
let's go, man. This is good.
So, in doing all that, we talked about, I think, your wife on the first episode we did with you, I believe. But I know she played a big role in all this stuff, because if she's not supporting you, you know, if she's not saying, hey, jump on a plane, go to Australia, go ahead, you know, if she's not allowing you to do that. So talk about her role in like having your back while you're navigating through the industry.
Oh, man, her support has been like beyond words can explain. Like my wife was, I think I said a quote in the book of something like, and I might get it a little wrong, but something like, you know, anyone can support someone with words, but when those words are attached to pain and suffering, then it becomes a whole nother level of support. Right. And that's what my wife was, because not only did she just support me and tell me, like, yo, I believe in you, whatever, but her actions when I had a conversation with her of quitting my corporate job that we needed so much, and she was like, yeah, I feel like you should be doing music full time as well. Yeah. Like that support was beyond any words that she could have told me, because that actions of her supporting and being like, okay, let's put a plan together for 10 months and pay off bills and do away with things we don't need, like cable, and then get these meals together of like buying a whole bunch of gram meat.
But that's so important. Yeah. I'm a father as well, and I felt again, you got to read the book, but there's a story in there about fatherhood, about something that you experienced that led you down that path, and I felt that in my soul, and I know a lot of people. So because you got to provide, you got to
have to provide, and that was always the thing. That was really the only thing that kept me from fully diving into my dream, is because it's not just me anymore. Like there's people that's you know, that's my responsibility now.
That's the intriguing thing, though, because that's the part that kind of made me scratch my head. Like, it's amazing, because usually when you have a moment like that, it makes you say, you know what, I got to go to this corporate world. Forget this. But you did the opposite. So you know what, I got to chase my dreams, man. I got to provide for my family. So usually you would think that's when people quit the music industry, when they see that and they pursue corporate or whatever.
Yeah, but that's faith.
You did the opposite. You said, you know what, I got to take care of my family, man. I'm about to quit this job.
Yeah. Right.
And this is like, that's counterintuitive almost, but you had the wherewithal to just jump right in there.
I think it boils down to always being able to see things before it actually happened. And I think us visualizing things is so important, because I always saw myself being able to work with like a Kanye or Jay-Z. I didn't know how, but I could always visualize that. And I knew that if I took action and planted seeds and do all these things in between the moment of me pursuing this and getting there, I knew that eventually I would get there, because these small successes that I was having was basically just taking me to the next phase or the next step. It was basically stepping stones, right? You know, getting me to the next phase of my life. So I knew eventually I would get there. I just didn't know when. Yeah. You know, so with me knowing that, it's like, okay, for me to be able to fully focus and concentrate on this dream, like, I think now is the time. And I know that it's not going to be easy. Like, there were some tough months. Yeah. You know, and there were some good months. There was, you know, I had, at that moment, I had built up enough clientele on the underground, selling tracks, you know, 500 here, 200 here, till you can make rent or whatever for that month. Right. You know, so that was cool. But there were some months there was like, nah, nothing's happening. Yeah, it ain't no income coming in. You know, but you know, it all goes back to my wife. She was still, even in those tough moments, it wasn't like, nah, you got to go get a job. It was like, nah, you
keep grinding.
You got so important.
Keep grinding. Yeah. And that really put a battery in my back, because it's like, okay, now I have to really go hard.
Well, and I really respect that, because even now, you know, at the status that you're at and the success that you've had, you still got like 5 hustles. Like, you know, legit beat music based hustles. You know what I'm saying? Like, you in the sound pack game. You know, you have all of these different ways that you're moving. Like, you Now you're becoming a speaker. Like it's like these types of things are really important. So I think that her standing behind you, man, like that's all the difference you needed.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And then she's just like super hard worker. She's the organizer, so she's good at taking all these things and all this whirlwind of events and just putting them together and making them make sense.
Right. Yeah.
So we can actually maximize it. So
Right.
that's her gift, and that's one of the things I needed to do. Also, is involve her more in my gift, as opposed to early on it was more of like she was competing with my music, but it's like, no, how can I involve her so she can feel a part of the dream, which she is.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, well, she was definitely there with you when you worked with Beyonce, I think, in New York. And it was some deadline stuff, and it was another one of those miraculous stories where you were blessed enough to get that placement despite a few challenges. I want to get into that after a quick break because we got to take a break.
There it is.
Come right back and get into that.
Yes, sir.
This week's Beat Break is brought to you by Airbit producer Dak. Check him out on airbit.com. That's Airbit producer Dak. The title of this beat is called Dexter. Free Game Podcast. Yeah. Hey, Dak, turn this shit up. Welcome back to the Free Game Podcast. We're here with S1, getting into this great book, Pray, Focus, Plan, Execute.
Yes, sir.
We're just talking about, how you worked with Kanye, and that ended up getting you working with Kanye and Jay-Z and then Beyonce. Then you ended up doing business with Roc Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Roc Nation is so prominent. They're doing so many good things. Now, how was that experience, and how did that end up going?
Oh, yeah. So, the Roc Nation thing was good. It was, I was able to do my co-publishing deal with Roc Nation by building a relationship with Jay-Z and Ty working on the Watch the Throne album. And, I was actually about to do my deal with another publishing company, but then, I met them and they found out I had not signed with this company yet. And it was like, at least let us put an offer in. And, so I felt like that was a little bit more authentic going with them because I had built a relationship. And then the other company was basically built on a song.
Yeah, analytics.
And it was some other things that went on with that other company that I already had like a sour taste in my mouth on because it didn't go right. But then, they found out I have a single about to come out, and then they went extra hard, and it's like, okay, you're basing it on this one song. Like I want to partner with someone based on my a 10-year span, a 15-year span of catalog as opposed to just one song.
Yeah.
So I went with Roc Nation, and Roc Nation was good. It was a good thing being a part of it. However, one thing I found out is you still, no matter who you are, who your publisher is, who your manager is, what label you own, you still have to put the work in. And that's the thing. Like no company or no partner or workers or whoever should work harder on your dream than you. And that's one of the things that I'm glad I had that mentality going into that, because it's like I still have to get out here. I still got to build the relationships. I still got to plant my own seeds. Now, they can still contribute to that, and whatever they do is in addition to what I'm already doing or what I'm gonna do. But yeah, it was good learning experience, and I got to learn about song commitments on publishing deals. You know, which,
I bet you learned that fast.
Gosh, the worst. You know, so that was another learning experience, and just being able to thankfully get out of that.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's dope. Let's talk about your son.
Okay.
Like, he's fire, man. Like, so how did you get him into production, or did he come to it? Because I know in the book it says that, you know, things are better when people just want it. Like, it just kind of happens. Nobody forces it on you.
Yeah.
And as soon as I read it, I was like, well, I wonder, you know, what kind of conversations you had with your son to get him going.
Yeah, so my son was Von Beats. He was always around it.
Yeah.
And always in the studio at 2 years old or whatever. So he just kind of gravitated towards it. Yeah. So around age 8 or 9, he was like, yo, Daddy, I want to make a beat.
Nice.
You know, and I wind up putting a program on his computer, and yeah, I was like, I just gave it to him and let him figure it out on his own.
Right.
And if he ever had questions, he knew he could come to me and ask questions. But I just wanted him to develop it and see if that's something that he was interested in, and he was, and he took it and he ran with it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I love it, man, because it's like y'all got this family. Like, the whole family's involved with getting to in the music business. Is it ever challenging, you know, like, you know, are there ever times where it's too much music business, too much?
Absolutely. One of the things I had to learn too is, you know, establishing that work-life balance.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking to.
Yeah, that work-life balance is so important because, you know, I'm a super hard worker, and my wife, she probably works harder than me.
Right.
You know, and yeah, we had to get to a point to where it's like, okay, you have to. We all have 24 hours in a day, but it's how we divide that time up and maximize that time, and we can make time for whatever we want, whatever we prioritize. You know, so you know, if we're gonna do 8 or 10 hours a day work, make sure that you have the weekends free to be able to go out and do other things, because that's an important thing too. Is I think doing too much of the same thing, you get burnt out easy. Right. You know, and you just you get tired of it easily. So you have to kind of step away and do other things to gain new inspirations to be able to come back fresh to those. So so that was the importance of developing that life balance, is making sure that we are all giving each other time, just family, but then at the same time being able to prioritize time slots for work as well.
Yeah, well, I really, you know, I honor your career and your, you know, commitment to family. It's a big deal because so many producers, so many guys have gone away from becoming a record producer because they don't think they can do both. You know, but you said some really magical things, like number one, inclusion. You know, when it came to your wife, it's like, you know, because we've all been there, bro. Like, you know, many times in my life, you know, it seemed like it was a ultimatum or choose,
either
make
or
a choice.
situation.
Yeah. And the truth is, you know, we most likely that was never the case. It's just what was I not doing to include a person, or this, that, and the third. And I just think that those things speak to people who have families or have, you know, other people involved with what they're doing, because that's even applicable with like teams.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know, because like you might not necessarily have a wife or somebody you're married to, but if you got like a group of people who are trying to help you do something, inclusion is super important.
Super important.
Because I've been guilty at times of we going so hard, but I forgot to say something to somebody who maybe in a moment felt insignificant, but they were super important. But if you don't take the time to let them know how important they are, it could damage the situation.
Absolutely.
But also vice versa, if you do take the time to include them and just say things to them, it could be the difference to make it go from average to super crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's what I'm hearing this in your story, man. It seems like the success was just a team effort. Yeah. You know, and so
always been a team effort, even until now, man. Even like with you know, producers I've been blessed to sign and bring onto my team, man. They are so, and I tell them all the time, like, man, y'all I know y'all look at it like me helping you guys accomplish you guys' dreams, but you guys are helping me just as much as I'm helping you.
I know exactly what you mean.
And I feel that's
yes,
so important, man, and I never want them to feel otherwise.
Yeah. That's dope, man.
I was going to get into that next when we're talking about teamwork and collaborating. A lot of your dope records are collaborations as well.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite ones was I think it was the intro to the Eminem Marshall Mathers LP. Bad Guy, yeah. That beat, the drums on there are so hard. So anyway, with collaborations, how does that work? Do you just sign sign producers and collaborate, or do you just kind of look for people to collaborate with, or is it through like some of your sound kits? Like, how does that work?
It's pretty much like a collage of different things.
Okay.
As far as like signing producers, like every producer that I've signed, it wasn't just, I'm gonna sign this guy. It's like, okay, this person has talent, and then okay, let me observe them for a year or a year and a half, and just to because I'm big on talent is everything, but I'm big on like character and integrity and like how they're carrying themselves and what they believe in and their values. I feel like that's an important part of, like, if I want you to be a part of the team and we're gonna do things, like all that has to connect and all that has to be
absolutely,
it's important. So all the people, the guys that I was able to sign, it was always over a period of time, and it's like, okay, this is just a good dude, and I want to be able to provide a situation so they can be able to accomplish their goals, and that's probably been one of the most significant things that I've been able to do, is just be able to see aspiring producers get their first plaque, or present them with their first platinum plaque.
I think I just saw you do that too with
the Kamikaze record.
With Lone Star.
So good.
That's my guy, man.
Yeah,
and he's just a good dude. So just to be able to do that and get people their first Grammy noms, and just all these different things that, it's not about removing myself, where it's not about me. It's like, how can I be of service to others that's in need?
Come on.
And that was developed first by just my personality and how I was raised, but I really started to aggressively pursue that after the power situation. It was me and Rhymefest having a conversation, and I remember him telling me, now that I've been able to bless you, it's time for you to go bless others.
Ooh,
and that stuck with me. So it's like, okay, how can I, with my platform, how can I be able to lay a foundation for people to be able to accomplish their goals and their dreams?
That's so dope.
That's a good one. So that's kind of led me to these the Eminem records. Like how does somebody? Because everybody wants to work with these top tier artists. And you go from Kanye to Beyonce, Jay-Z to Eminem. Like, who does that? Like, how did you end up?
Man.
And then you returned again with the Kamikaze album.
Kamikaze, yeah. And I actually have like 6 records with M on it.
The Royce record.
Yeah, the Royce record.
The 50 Cent record.
50 Cent record. Yeah. So a lot of, and that's crazy when I think about it, because, M was always one of those artists that I wanted to work with, but it's like, man, how do you get to an Eminem?
Right.
So my first introduction to him was through an A&R at Universal named Manny Smith. And I didn't know Manny at the time, but I would always hear people shout him out. Like 50 Cent would shout, Manny, and 50 Cent started shouting me out in records, and I heard him in 2 records. In an interview, he shouted me out. I'm like, like, I don't even know him, but he shouted my name out.
Yeah.
I did an A&R meeting. My management was like, go see Manny at Interscope, play him some records. So I went through, played them, and prior to this meeting, you guys know how A&R meetings are. It's like you play them joints, they on their phone, and like, okay, yeah, leave me these, and then you never hear anything back. So that's what I'm thinking this is, going into it. So I'm playing him joints, and he's like, that's dope, say that for me. And then I played the Bad Guy record, and he's like, M needs that. And at the moment, he's like, oh yeah, whatever. He was like, put it on the flash drive, I'll email it to him right now. So I did that. He sent it to him, and I didn't hear from him for a couple weeks. I mean, probably like a couple months. And then one day he hit me and he was like, M is really feeling this record. Just put it on hold for right now and I'll keep you updated. And then a couple weeks later, he was like, they want the stems. M cut the record. So I was like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was one of those situations.
That's dope.
Yeah. One of the themes throughout the book is, even back in the day when you were waiting on the BET audition, like, it's always you sent something, and then a couple months later,
Bro.
So it's like,
Bro, the importance of planting seeds every day.
Yeah. And the action conversation. We can have that now. So I feel like that's probably the biggest thing that I took from your book was the fact that like you made action. You took action.
Yes.
Every single time it seems like things that happened for you, it was because you were prepared and you went ahead and did it. Something as simple as sending an email or just putting it on a flash drive and being prepared for it.
or taking the meeting, like,
Taking the meeting. Right.
because like you said, a lot of the meetings they just sit there, but you just, but you still got to go through the process.
And I always think about that too. Like I remember even with the YBN Corday joint.
Awesome, get to that.
I was in LA and he was like, yo, let's link up today and get a session. But he never contacted me. And you know, when I go out to LA, because I'm on Central Standard Time, I'm tired early. So like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'm tired. So I'm in the bed.
Yeah.
He hits me around midnight, yo, come through. And at that moment, I'm like, I was texting, yo, what you got up tomorrow? Let's try to link tomorrow. But I was like, you know what? Let me just get up and just go. I'll be like, okay, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And then I wind up doing his single Location Ships that night.
Very dope record. How do you even meet YBN? I'm always curious. Like, I see you doing a record with this person. How do you meet these? Like, how did you?
YBN was my attorney hit me up. Where I was on to him on the YouTube videos, but I didn't know him. And my attorney hit me up one day. It was like, yo, YBN Corday's big fan of your record. Do you guys want me to connect you with you guys? So he wound up connecting us, and we just started talking and sending beats back and forth. He was cutting records, sending them, and you know, he started working on this album. He invited me. He had rented this crib out for like a couple weeks. He invited me. I went out there, stayed with him for 3 or 4 days.
That's dope.
And man, he's different.
Yeah.
He's different, man. His mindset at his age, he's beyond a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
The way he thinks.
That's dope.
So it's great to see him having the success that he's having, because it's like, okay, by having conversation, I knew it. I could see it.
Yeah.
And then he makes great music as well. So it's crazy how, like we were saying, the taking action part is it's a requirement.
Yeah.
It's mandatory, man.
Yeah, but man, so many people blow it at that point right there. It's like
absolutely,
all you
man.
I've blown it before like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, they told you to send an email. All you had to do is send it. Yeah. I never forget, man. I got a call from my man with that. Jeez, I'm blowing it right now. Out in LA, we had him on the podcast too.
Who? Swifty?
No, when I went to work with Game.
Oh, Stackwell.
Oh, Stack. Yeah, my man, my brother. Yeah.
That's my guy.
So Stack goes, one time he hit me up, man. He was like, I thought he was just playing with me, man. He's like, bro, send me some beats, man. I'm going in with Kendrick.
Yeah. Oh, no, Stack don't play.
He don't play, man.
They was managing me for a few years back. They're the ones that told me to go to Manning.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah. You already know what's up.
So they don't play, man. Bro, you missed out.
I missed that, bro. So
there's been many a times where it's that like, yo, I'm in with Kendrick now. Send me some joints. Or he'll be like, send me some joints for Kendrick, and he'll send a screenshot of Kendrick like, yo, fire, or send this, or yeah. So
and he did that. Like he sent me a text from Kendrick saying, what the hell is WLPWR, right? And he's like, bro, it sounds like a radio station. So he was clowning me. But then Stat's so crazy, man. Afterwards, he hit me when the album came out. He go, you ain't want to get no money. Like, just hit me with that. I was like,
that sounds so Stat. That sounds so Stat, man. Big up Stat and DJ, man.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. For sure.
Love them guys.
Yeah, man. So I agree with you on that. I think that it's a testament to what's going on, man. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta take action, man. I always say nothing happens until we do.
Come on, man.
Yeah, nothing happens until we do, man.
That's so good.
So you have to make that action, because the action is that bridge that gets you from what you're pursuing to the actual achievement of success. That everything in between that is the action. And the planting the seeds and the building relationships and the sending the emails and all that is the action.
Is that a testament to why you're discography is so diverse because you got YBN Cordae. I was looking in the back of the book where you got your discography. I didn't even know some of these, like the Baby and this person, Lil Xan, and then I think about Gladys Knight, and the story about how you worked closely with her and how she trusted you.
Yeah.
Like, how did that even come about?
Oh, bro, so crazy, man. That was merely just somebody, a songwriter by the name of Avir, reaching out to me to do records. Oh, he just wanted to work. He was a fan. He was wanting to work. So wound up meeting him out in LA. We had a conversation. He was like, yo, I'm a background singer for Gladys, and man, she needs some new records, and I think you'd be perfect for it. So it was just a conversation of that and not really thinking anything of it. And then fast forward, he was like, yo, Gladys is I got a text, or not a text. I got a DM from Gladys on Twitter.
That's crazy. Gladys Knight.
And it was simple. It was like, yo, S1, it was like, I really love your music. I look forward to working with you soon. And I'm like, oh, so this is real.
Yeah.
So we wound up setting a session up to where she didn't come down that time, but it was like Avir was like, man, let's lock in and do a couple joints so we can play for her to see if she liked it. So they came down. He came down. A couple other songwriters. Had some of my musician cats there at the crib, and we created 2 songs, played it for her, and she was like, this is the one. I want to come down. I'm going to drive my tour bus down to your house and cut this record.
Whoa.
And that's exactly what she did.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah, so she cut the record. And then after that moment, I guess she was kind of observing, and she loved the record, and she was kind of observing like just my character and just those things outside of the music. And she was, we would have these meetings or these conference calls, and she would always be like, man, I just trust you so much. Whatever you want me to do, or however you think we should approach this record or whatever, like, I want you to figure it out, and I trust whatever you want to do with this.
Sweet.
And it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Cause it's like, oh, this has to be right.
Right.
Yeah.
This is history.
Yes.
This is history. And so it was a lot of pressure on me, but thank God that I was able to deliver the product. And then, just seeing everything come together. She did this promo tour and invited me to come out. So, I'm traveling along with her, and we having these 5 a.m. Lobby calls every morning in New York to go to the Real or Sway, Real Sway in the morning, and all these different shows, and just to see her excited and doing these things was like, wow, like even after all she's accomplished, she's still in
excited.
it. Yeah, she's still excited, and she still loves to sing and love to impact people, because that's what inspired me the most, is just the conversations we would have, on our way to the show, or and just having these intricate conversations was like, wow, like this is actually Gladys giving me insight and giving me these glorious moments and these keys that I can take with me and have
gems.
Forever. Yeah, these gems. So it was I'm so thankful for that moment.
That's dope, man.
So thankful.
Not a lot of people can say that, bro.
I mean, I'm looking at the range though, from YBN Cordae to Gladys Knight.
Come on, man.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like we were saying earlier, just a lot of planting seeds, a lot of collaborating, and once I figured out the taking action part, it was like, okay, for instance, going back to like the Winter Fresh commercial, just submitting and just taking the initiative of putting our first album out and seeing what that did. And so it's like, man, I want to just do a lot of stuff now. I want to plant a lot of seeds every day. I want to make sure I'm doing something. I just start doing it.
Yeah.
And then, things weren't happening right then. Like they say, the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit.
Come on.
So,
absolutely.
So it's like knowing that too, knowing that, okay, some of these things, you may not see it for a year or 2 or 5 years, but just as long as you consistently planting, and you're planting a lot of good seeds and good soil, that at some point these things are going to start to come back.
That's right, man.
And it was certain moments in my life that were like, everything would just start coming back, like, oh snap, this was from 2 years ago, or this was from a relationship I built 5 years ago.
Right.
And And once I figured that out, it was like, let's just go.
Yeah. Now you got a method.
This was method. Yeah.
That's really dope.
So these days, what are you inspired to do as far as production? Do you like to just still like make beats from scratch? You know, do you just get on I don't know what software you like to use? Like, do you just bring in musicians and or just have your producers send you something to work on?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. I'm still in love with the process of making music. So I still make music, but then I have guys sending me stuff, sending me ideas, and it's like, oh, I want to mess with this. I want to mess with these two. And then I'm able to start ideas and be like, yo, finish this. Or finish this record.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole bunch of different ways and whole bunch of different approaches in my to my process.
Yeah.
Of how I go about doing it.
What do you like to use now? Do you like to use certain software? Do you still work with hardware?
Yeah, so I use I bounce back and forth between Ableton, FL, and Studio One. And the reason is because I get bored. I start to get bored with one because my creation process becomes very template based when I'm working with one because I'm doing the same thing and taking the same approaches. So when I'm flip flopping or you know, it kind of giving me a new approach, and it's like fresh when I hop into it because it's like some certain things I don't know and I like that because it's like I'm able to figure things out and I may stumble across something, you know, in the process of trying to figure it out. Yeah. You know, so that kind of gives me different vibes. Yeah, you know,
that's dope because I mean I'm efficient on several DAWs, but I never think that like it's like once I retire from one, I just go to the next. I don't really go back. I think
I do believe in mastery of something too.
Yeah,
you know, so I know like I'm starting to know Ableton, you know, to where I can do anything on it. I love it.
Oh yeah, I love it.
You
too.
know, FL I've created things in it, but I'm just not like. Have mastered it yet because I don't work in it all the time. In Studio One, I've worked in Studio One enough to know that I can do pretty much whatever I want to do in it as well. So
yeah, I'm about to start implementing that because I'm a Jedi on Logic and on Ableton now.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Logic,
like I kind of want to.
Okay.
I miss some of the things I used to do in Logic, but Ableton just happens to be where I'm at right now. Yeah, man. I love it.
I'm big on. In my creation process, I'm big on sound design, and sound manipulation.
Yes,
and Ableton
is perfect for that. Yeah,
yeah.
And so that's another thing. You know, we're not gonna keep you too much longer, but sound design, man, like that's like you like one of the forefathers of that to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I was checking out the kits and you know getting stuff from you a long time ago. Are you still into that? Are you still like?
I am. I haven't been putting. A lot of kits out lately because of everything that's been going on in my world. Yeah. But yeah, I have moments of like, man, I don't want to make any beats. I don't want to create any songs. Let's just create sounds. Yeah. You know, and big ups my man's Ill Mind because he's the one that put me on game on that. You know, just me, literally us together, and he was like, man, you need to like your sounds have always been dope to me. You should do this. And he literally walked me through the process of setting my site up, my store, giving me ideas. So I always have to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah,
so big ups my man's Ill Minds, man. We've been knowing each other since like 2002.
Yeah, he's a king, man. He's got that,
so,
bro. Like,
man. And just a good dude. And to see where he's at now, that's amazing because there was so many conversations we would have on the phone.
Planted seeds, bro. He's been planting seeds for a long time.
Bro, our journey has been crazy, man. I'm just conversations on the phone of like me telling him, oh, I may have this placement, or him telling me, yo, I got this placement right here, and things not happening or things not working out. Right. And so, but us the power of persistence and never quitting and just keep, you know, the power of just keep going. Right. And never losing that love for it. So to see where he is today now is like, wow, it's a true testament of being persistent. Man.
Let's make sure we let everybody know, where can they get the book?
Yeah. Yeah, so my new book, Pray, Focus, Plan, Execute, a memoir by S1. It's available. The physicals right now are available on my site, Symbolycone.com. That's SYMBOLYCONE. But also ebooks available on Amazon, Apple Books.
I bought mine on iTunes.
Oh, you bought it? Okay, cool. That's dope. Barnes and Nobles, or any digital book retailer that is available. And then I have an audio book, which I'm excited about, that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. And I'm excited because I narrated the book. And then my good friend Rhymefest narrated about the author.
That's crazy.
Me. Yeah. And then I have like compositions in between because I wanted to incorporate that as well.
Fire.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been a blessing, man.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate
man.
you so much.
Thank you guys for allowing me to come and use you guys' platform to, man, just have some really dope conversations.
Man, bro, we got some gems on this one, bro. FreeGame for sure.
And we want to get you back in the future too, because
absolutely,
we can talk about a lot more stuff too.
Yeah,
we can talk about a lot more stuff. I have so many stories. It's so many stories chapters that didn't make the book because I had to start taking away to make sure it was, readable and concise.
Yeah, because we didn't get into the crazy. It's a whole bunch of,
it's a lot of stuff.
Come on, man. So we're definitely gonna bring you back. Thank you for coming and visiting us here in Atlanta, man. This is a big deal. So,
and I'm super proud of y'all too, man, because I remember like this didn't exist.
Yeah.
Years back.
Right.
So to know your vision and know that but the action that you took to find the place and have a great team around you, like that speaks volumes.
Thank you,
so it's good to see. I love to just see people, just to live out their dreams and win, man.
Yeah, man.
We all can win together.
Yes, sir.
It's not an either or.
That's
it's not an either or thing, man.
Well, God bless you, man. And we're gonna see you again soon.
Man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Free Game Podcast.
Free Game.
Yo, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Free Game Podcast. If you did enjoy it, make sure you subscribe to the Airbit channel right below. Just hit subscribe on the button below. Or you can go to youtube.com/airbit. You know what I'm saying? If you're feeling the podcast, make sure you share it. Let your friends know. Also, there's an audio version of the podcast. Look in the notes below and you'll see where to subscribe to that at.
Yeah.
Free Game Podcast.
Free Game.